What is the future of 4-H in Dubois County as things have kind of changed a little bit this year? Hello and welcome to 18 WJTS in.form. I'm your host, Bill Potter. Joining me in the studio is Lisa Wilson. Lisa is the Youth Development Educator with Purdue Extension in Dubois County and works specifically with the 4-H program. Lisa, welcome.
Yeah. Hi, thank you.
Well, what is the future of 4-H in Dubois County?
Oh, I think it's just ever growing and ever changing. And as we every year look at our 4-H program and look over how it went last year, and as we look into the future, we're thinking about what can we do to meet the youth needs this year? What can we do to help our families have a great experience for their children this year? It's really interesting to me to see what comes to the forefront every year as we're supporting our youth to be leaders in our community as they're growing up, and we have the ability to make an impact on their life from kindergarten all the way through 12th grade, and that 4-H is something that can remain constant through all those years. It's really an interesting place to be the 4-H program in our county.
Well, maybe what we need to do is, let's talk first about what is 4-H? How do you join 4-H? What are the ages? That kind of thing, so that people get an idea what the base is, but then we'll look into what the future will be.
Yeah, I think sometimes our community, if you're not involved in 4-H and you're not one of our families that is in it generation after generation, it's hard to understand what the 4-H program is. So I'll just start at the beginning. From kindergarten to second grade, we have what's called our mini 4-H program, and that's a fun program where the kids they go to their 4-H club meetings. We actually have some clubs that are just mini 4-H and they're catered to that age group. We have mini 4-H day camps that those kids can attend, and then they can show animals at the fair in the mini classification in that mini class, and they can bring projects to the fair as well. So they get kind of a mini version of our 4-H program. And then as you get into third grade, 3rd through 12th grade is our regular 4-H program, and you can join as a full-fledged member then. So the year, so as you are completing 3rd grade, that would be your 3rd grade, your first year. So you sign up for 4-H between October 1 and January 15th, and whatever grade you're in then, that is the grade level that we classify you in the 4-H program. So 3rd through 12th grade. And our 4-H program runs an entire year. I think sometimes people just think about it being in the summer with its busyness in the summer, but we do events all year long. You can have the 4-H experience that you want. Some people really enjoy going to those monthly club meetings and seeing that group together and being with that 4-H leader and doing those fun activities monthly. Some people don't have time for that. Or maybe that's not the experience they're looking for, and they just want to learn about specific topics. We have Spark Clubs. You could join do just a Spark Club for one day, or sometimes our Spark Clubs go on for a few weeks, where you might learn how to bake, or you might learn how to do photography, or I know you had a Spark Club here one time where they learned how to do things with the media. So whatever we have volunteers to do and what they're available to do is kind of what those Spark Clubs do. And then, your 4-H experience, it really just looks different for every family. And we have 850 4-Hers in our 4-H program here, and I don't know that it looks the same for any family. You can pick and choose what you want to do.
Dubois County has 850.
Yeah.
You've got to be one of the largest around.
Yeah, we are one of the largest programs in southern Indiana by a long shot, I believe. I don't know the exact numbers on that, but I do know we're one of the largest programs. And, we're pretty diverse in the sense of the experiences that we provide for our youth, because we are so big and we have such a big amount of youth to reach, and in reaching them at what they need,
Now let's take the crystal ball. What's the future of 4-H in Dubois County? And has the COVID-19 pandemic affected that? And what will that do to us in the future? What's next year's fair going to be like? Who'd have thought we would be where we are today? But what do we see in the future?
I really hope next year's fair looks a little more like what we normally see it. But I do think that COVID-19 has opened our eyes to some possibilities to do things virtually for those youth that can't come in person. that don't have the ability to have transportation, or just for us to provide some things that don't have to be done at a specific time. You know, like when you're doing something in person, it happens from this time to this time, but maybe we can provide a virtual experience that you can log on at your leisure and see a class or learn about a certain project that maybe we didn't think about before, or didn't give ourselves time to think about before. COVID-19 has definitely forced us to look down some of those paths, and it's not all bad. I think some of it is really great, and I think it's going to be giving our youth and our program a lot more opportunities. You know, I envision us, you know, having these virtual experiences that we can provide for schools, you know, having our teachers have some experiences that is from a local source, but teaches some of those enrichment things that maybe they don't have the ability to in the classroom.
Right. And sometimes even some of the most basic things, baking, can be taught virtually.
Exactly. And so you can follow along with a lesson at home and learn how to bake. You know, it's great when we can be there in person and be together, and kind of help them through their experiences of frustration and successes. But let's not kid ourselves and think that we can't do that virtually. And as a matter of fact, we might be able to reach more youth and be available for more youth if we do provide some of these experiences virtually. That's not to say we're going to be cutting things out in person, because the 4-H experience is really about being there and having that experiential learning. This is more just adding another layer of experiences for our youth, experiences for our community, and reaching youth that maybe just can't get there at that time.
Well, you could look into the future. You know, let's go back 10 years. No one would have thought of spark plugs and having a short-term 4-H. We can't do that because it has to be this way.
Exactly.
Well, then what, 5 years ago maybe? Spark clubs got started, which is a great way for kids to get involved in 4-H, or for 4-H and the Purdue Extension to reach out to youth to offer them an opportunity they wouldn't normally get.
Yeah.
And for companies like ours to become involved in some way.
Exactly.
And do a media spark club.
Yeah.
And we just did it all. We did it all in one day.
Exactly.
We could have done it. I guess you can do it like
you can do it however you
so
want.
many hours every night for so many nights. Yeah. It's just a way of doing it differently, a whole different way of looking at things.
It is, and you know, when we think about volunteering, used to be the only way to volunteer with the 4-H program was to become a club leader or to be a 4-H council member, and those need a bit more of a commitment, right? You could be a Spark Club leader and have that one-time experience, and you know, you've reached those youth and taught them something great. As I look forward, maybe we might have an experience for you to video yourself or have someone video you, or even do a series of slides where we can be educating our youth, just not right there in person. You know, I think that there are a lot of times whenever youth cannot be physically at some place, and it might be because they're too busy, it might be because of an illness or a disability or something like that. So we need to think about how we can reach everyone. And these virtual outlets really are opening some doors for us.
So the future of 4-H looks good.
I think so.
It just looks different,
It
right?
does. I think the future of 4-H, you know, just like anything else, it looks very bright. There is always going to be a need for our youth to have these experiences that are not academic necessarily, right? There is a lot of great things that happens in our schools. There's a lot of great things that happen in the sports courts and fields. But there's a lot of life skills that need to be learned in addition to that. And as our parents are busy and our schools don't maybe have the opportunities to teach all the things that we used to teach, that's where 4-H can come in and teach those life skills, from Robert's Rules of Order at a meeting to how do I cook this meal? What's healthy for me to be eating? To what's wrong with my car? You know, my dog is doing this. Why is it doing this? You know, how do I take care of my children? You know, we did a babysitting Spark Club where we talked about staying at home and the safety of staying at home and taking care of others and child development and Many of us become parents as adults. I learned much of what I needed to know about being a parent through the Child Development Project in 4-H. So there's just so much to be learned there. And I think that 4-H has a huge role with our youth as we're moving forward.
But it really all comes down to you get out of it what you put into it.
You do. You get out of it what you put into it. And like I said, 4-H can be a really small thing for you, or it can be a really big thing, you know? And that's the beauty of our 4-H program, is that our 4-H council really helps with us financially. They work really hard to earn all of their money so that we can provide these experiences at little to no cost. It costs $15 to be a 4-H member for the entire year, and all these experiences come with it, for the most part.
Yes.
There's a few things that are a little extra, but most of the experiences come right along with your $15. So that's pretty good.
And I can't even really ask you this question, but I'm going to kind of put it to you anyway. Why should somebody join 4-H? I mean, the reasons are huge. Mm-hmm. What are some small things that you think are some reasons people should be part of the future of 4-H?
Well, I think, one, our leaders do a really great job of empowering youth to be independent. And as you grow into your high school years and into college and into being a young adult, independence is key. You know, I don't know how many times I see or I talk to somebody and they say, I can't believe they didn't know how to balance a checkbook, or they didn't know how to manage their money. You learn that in 4-H. You see people that, you know, are arguing about things or quickly offended, should I say. You learn how to be a good citizen in the 4-H program. You learn about respecting others and hearing everyone's voice and mitigating those conversations and all of that through the 4-H program. You learn how to experience failure and how to pick yourself back up. You learn that you don't always win.
Right.
And when you don't win, well, there's next year, and here's my plan going forward next year that I'm going to try to do better. We learn that it's not all about the ribbon. Mm-hmm. We learn that it's about the entire year's experience going forward. And even for the 4-H'er that graduates never earning a purple ribbon, they still have one because of all their experiences they've had.
And life skills that they learn throughout
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And again, to join 4-H, they should contact your office.
Yeah.
Or any extension office, no matter what county you happen to be in.
Yes.
And can you live in one county and be a member of a 4-H club in another county? Is that possible? Or
yes and no. That's a little bit of a sticky wicky question. So the way that works is if you live in another county and you would like to join in a county that you're not living in, the rule is that you can't have that experience in your county. For example, we have shooting sports, a huge shooting sports program in our county that teaches youth how to be safe in the outdoors and how to be safe with firearms and those sorts of things. It's a well sought after program in our county because it's run very well here. There are some neighboring counties that do not have a shooting sports program. Okay. So if you live in a county that does not have that, you are welcome to join ours. But if your county has a shooting sports program, you have to join in your county.
And there really is a 4-H club pretty well in all the towns or communities throughout Dubois County.
Yes.
Multiples.
Yeah.
And you can actually be a member of almost 3 different 4-H clubs.
You can be a member of as many 4-H clubs as you would like to be a member of. Some of our clubs are focused on a certain kind of project. For example, there's clogging. They learn how to clog and dance. And then there's your general clubs that are just your regular 4-H clubs. And you do not have to, say you live in Ireland and you want to join Schnellville's club. You can do that. Okay. You don't. It doesn't matter where you live.
But you could also be a junior leader. You could be in the Ferdinand Club.
Yeah.
One of the several in Ferdinand.
Yeah.
You could also be in the clogging club.
Yeah, you can be in shooting sports.
But you're not paying a different fee for each of those clubs. It's the $15 membership.
$15 to be in
each club
the
might
county
charge like a quarter a meeting as a dues
yeah,
kind of a thing
some of
for
the
fun.
clubs charge, dues. I think shooting sports charges a small fee just to help offset the cost of ammo and things like that, and the upkeep of their firearms. But Very small.
It's very small.
And let me tell you, anytime you walk in and you say, hey, I want to be a part of this, but I can't afford that fee, we are not going to ask you for it.
You can take care of them.
Yeah.
And also note that you don't have to become a 4-H member in 3rd grade and then go, oh, well, I missed 3rd grade, I can't join 4-H.
Yes.
You can join anytime you want.
We have high schoolers that join all the time.
Okay.
You know, and sometimes you have a friend that's in that program, you want to go join with them. Or sometimes, and I know this happened for me, I played a lot of sports in elementary school, but I did not in junior high and high school. So I had a little void there. So help me find a little more purpose, you can join like that. So
just know that there are really no limits to joining 4-H. Lisa, thank you very much for being our guest. 4-H is a great program. This is usually 4-H week. This is the time to think of 4-H, and you can still support 4-H by helping the 4-H Council make a small donation. Thank you, Lisa, for being our guest. Lisa Wilson, the Youth Development Educator with Purdue Extension, Dubois County. Thank you for watching WJTS. We are local people watching local people.